Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting and maybe sometimes funny updates, so let's start. According to information we have, during the previous days, Zelensky visited Kharkiv region. The Zelensky was planning to visit Volchansk, the southern outskirts of the city, with the purpose to make some selfies and photos in the entrance to the city, with the purpose to show the Ukrainians that everything is okay. Also, Zelensky was planning to do the same with Liptsi, to make some selfies, to congratulate Ukrainians who are protecting and defending the northern Kharkiv direction, but something went wrong. More precisely, the Russians, while they were bombing the Ukrainian positions with FAB, accidentally attacked the area and the positions of armed forces of Ukraine, where Zelensky was planning to make all these selfies and videos. And after very heavy explosion, the Zelensky and his team decided to move back, and they returned back to Kiev. So this is the first piece of news regarding Zelensky trip in Kharkiv area. And today the Ukrainian sources start spreading the information that most likely Zelensky is heavy sick or heavy wounded, or even more, that Zelensky has already died. The thing is that during the previous 3 days, the Ukrainian sources are saying Zelensky hasn't made even a single video about the situation in Ukraine and about the situation on the line of combat contact. But the videos that were published with Zelensky were published not with him but with his double. So this is the situation. Let's wait for additional updates and then we will make additional conclusions. As for the situation on the ground, according to information we have, Germany together with Denmark transferred 8 Leopard tanks with spare parts to Ukraine. Also, according to information we have, composition of new US military aid package worth 200 million. So the United States of America announced additional military package to Ukraine, and they're planning to announce additional one for $1.5 billion. And very interesting updates are coming from NATO countries, from Germany and Poland. The United States, as a part of strengthening NATO's eastern flank, is moving armored vehicles and artillery from military bases in Germany to Poland. 87 tanks, 150 infantry fighting vehicles, and 18 self-propelled artillery units will be transferred to the base in Powidz in the central Poland. So this is the situation. Maybe this is just another military exercises, or maybe this is attempt to secretly to send additional military package to Ukraine because the situation on the ground is very difficult, and of course the United States of America see this and they want to stabilize the line of combat contact. As for the line of combat contact, we have additional gains, additional changes on the ground. We have changed the map in the vicinity of Robotnye. We have colored additional fields and the tree lines and the complete Russian control. We have geolocations that were published by the 67th Mechanized Brigade of Armored Forces of Ukraine. In this video we can see a series of FPV drone strikes on the Ukraine-Russian positions in these tree lines, in this forest, among these brushes. Based on this video, most of the mappers have adjusted their maps in the northwestern part of Robotnye. Also, we have additional update from the road T0508 between Novodanilivka and Robotnye itself. The Russian sources published a video of how they were bombing and attacking the Ukrainian forces along this road. From this angle, it's very difficult to understand what exactly is happening here, but the Russians are saying that they managed to ambush a very big convoy of Ukrainian vehicles with significant number of infantry, and the Russians destroyed the convoy, as you can see, as a result of strikes. So we don't know the exact number of Ukrainian losses, but the Russians are saying that the losses were very huge. Now let's talk about South Donetsk direction. About Konstantinovka, we have additional changes on the ground, as you can see. The Ukrainian sources published the video of how they were FPV droning the Russians in the southeastern part of the village, and one of the episodes of Ukrainian FPV drone attacks took place here, and based on this video, most of the mappers have adjusted their maps. So as you can see, the Russians slowly but step by step are improving their positions in the southeastern part of the village. Furthermore, during the previous 24 hours, during the previous maybe even not 24 but maybe 48 hours, the Russians conducted a full-scale offensive operation on the direction of Ukrainian forces in the northern part of Konstantinovka. The Russians were moving through Marinka, Pobeda, and the Russians were planning to take under control this rich network of the fortifications. The Ukrainian sources published the video. The video was published by 33rd Mechanized Brigade. In this video we can see a very huge Russian convoy with significant number of armored vehicles. Up to 7 armored vehicles were involved in this operation, and the Ukrainians are showing how they were bombing and attacking the Russians with FPV drones, how many vehicles they managed to destroy, how many abandoned tanks they managed to destroy as well. So anyway, this video was published by 33rd Mechanized Brigade, so we shouldn't expect that they will show significant progress from the Russian side. Once again, the only thing we know for sure that the Russians were moving this road to attack the Ukrainian positions in the northern Konstantinovka, and one of the locations of Russian attack was geolocated in this place, which confirms the Russian goals to capture this small stronghold. We have adjusted the map. We have added additional red color over these 3 lines fields in the fortifications, showing additional Russian progress. Maybe the Russians managed to improve their positions significantly more, but we don't have the exact data to confirm this. Now let's move further. We haven't received anything about Krasnogorovka during the previous night, which is also a very important piece of news. Most likely the Russians stopped. The Russians are not planning to move further. It's too risky and too dangerous. They managed to capture the main part of Krasnogorovka. Now they will think what to do next, or they will wait for additional progress of the Russians, maybe in Pokrovsk direction or maybe in Konstantinovka direction. As for Pokrovsk direction, during the previous 24 hours we haven't received, during the previous night we have received a lot of very interesting updates. Once again, the second day in a row we stop getting any reports about additional Russian progress along the railways. The Russians during the previous during the first days of attack were moving along the railways, but now they've stopped, and this is very important, which confirms that the Russians first of all tried to improve their flanks. As well, we haven't received anything about additional Russian progress to the road of 542, and we haven't received anything about the current status in the village of Veselaya. So this most southwestern flank of Pokrovsk direction without any information during the previous night. But according to information we have, the Russians during the previous nights and during the previous day were also attacking the positions of armored forces of Ukraine inside of the village of Ivanovka, and the pro-Ukrainian mappers show additional progress of the Russians in the fields. So basically these fields and these strongholds were captured by the Russians. Currently the Russians are storming this stronghold, and after the fall of this stronghold the Russians will be able to end Ivanovka itself. In the southern part of Ivanovka, the Russians managed to discover the Ukrainian Bradley that was attacking the offensive Russian soldiers, and as a result of Lancet strike, this Ukrainian Bradley was destroyed. So this is probably the first video of clashes of this like this in this direction. Furthermore, according to information we have, the Russian soldiers were attacking the village of Timofeevka on the line Lazavatska-Timofeevka. We have just one geolocation that was published by the Ukrainians. In this video we can see the Russian tanks that were moving from Lazavatska to Timofeevka, and how the forces of 110th Mechanized Brigade of Armed Forces of Ukraine were FPV droning the Russians. So this is the only video, and one of the episodes of that video was geolocated in this place, but later different mappers, including pro-Ukrainian, updated their maps showing additional Russian progress, and that the Russians, as a result of possibly this offensive operation, managed to answer Timofeevka itself to secure the first buildings and the tree lines in the eastern part of the village, and the Russians began clearing operation. So this is the situation in this direction. Now let's move further. We have additional updates from Toretsk, New York agglomeration, and probably this is the most important and the most interesting updates for the previous night. As you can see, we have a lot of icons with flag, and telling the truth, the Russians have almost secured the village of Zalizne. The Russians have almost managed to secure the village of Pivdenne, and the Russians control around 50% of Pivnichne. During the previous night, as you can see, according to pro-Ukrainian sources, the Ukrainians just ran away from their positions. They withdrew their positions completely without showing any resistance to the Russians. Significant progress of the armed force of Russian Federation. For now, they control the entire Pioneerov Avenue, the entire line from the southwestern part of Zalizne till the north, till the end of the street in Pivnichna, and the Russians also began controlling Lenina Street. Significant progress. The Russians continue concentrating their forces with the purpose to move further deep inside of the territory of Ukraine. So very interesting. Furthermore, during the previous 24 hours, we have additional updates of how the Russians were hunting and attacking the Ukrainian forces armored vehicles along Centralna Street that Ukrainians still use as a main supply road. Significant number of vehicles were destroyed during the previous night and during the previous days as well. Now let's move further. We see a certain activity of the Russian forces in the fields between Chasiv Yar and Toretsk Agglomeration. Maybe this is something like artillery preparation before further attempts from the Russian side to cross Seversky Donetsk-Donbass Canal in the vicinity of Zelenopolye and Kurdyumovka. We have a lot of geolocations, a lot of FPV drone strikes. The Russians were bombing heavily the Ukrainian forces. As for Chasiv Yar, during the previous night, we haven't received even a single update regarding additional Russian progress in the central part. So we haven't still received any updates whether it's true at all that the Russians managed to cross, and this is very weird and interesting situation. Now let's talk about Razdolovka. The pro-Ukrainian sources and neutral mappers confirmed additional Russian progress in the northern part of Razdolovka. These fields were captured completely and secured by the Russians, and now the Russians have possibilities to move further in direction of Berezhny, and most likely this is what is going to happen during the next few days. We haven't received anything about Siversk, about southern Kupiansk direction. We haven't received anything about northern Kupiansk direction. Just a regular military activity. The same story from Kharkiv area. Nothing special, just a regular activity. The Russians were bombing the Ukrainian forces. The Russians were attacking and preparing the foothold before further offensive operation in the vicinity of aggregate plant. So no changes on the ground, just the report we got that Zelensky tried to visit this area, but he was scared probably and ran away from this area. And that's it for this short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.